Alright, so we gotta pull up the panels first. This one comes directly out towards you. You can pull at it from both sides with a quick jerk. The side ones kind of twist away from the window. As you can tell, when I don't do it, it doesn't come out, so it's kind of part of the design. On this one of the clips came off of the plastic. Now when you lose a clip off the plastic and it stays in, you want to pull it away from the car, like directly out, and then put it back on the panel. Now this back one does the same thing, pulls away from the window. At this point, I go towards the back. I don't need to do that. Most of your pulling should be from the window outward. And then straight down, kind of. But when you pull this off, make sure that you angle it down like that. Usually there's that's connected. And I didn't have it connected from the last time, so don't forget to reconnect that when you're done. Now this, you want to warm it up pretty good. My Mach-E is a 21. It is currently 25, and the adhesive has kind of cemented. It's also pretty cold out, so I probably didn't really warm it up that much, but the adhesive over time tends to lose its softness and its tackiness and just hardens. So it's going to take a bit. The older your badge is, I'm just going to kind of have to keep working on it. I'm using dental floss. It's probably the gentlest thing that you can find for to not damage paint, and it's gonna break a lot here, but it's fine. Pick one up at the dollar store and just keep whittling away. And then that tool, I love that tool. It's such a useful tool. That just kind of wedging under there, trying to warm it up, and here I use a thinner tool. I'm trying to get underneath it, get the heat under it. Use the floss, breaks a lot. But then when you do finally get enough of it off, you want to use something kind of like this tool. This tool is so good. Right in the middle on the top, and just pry it up, straight up, and it pops out. And then you just got to clean off all the residue. Use a little heat, rub at it, use your nail. Nails don't tend to damage the paint. And then use a little bit of cleaner that isn't corrosive, doesn't damage the paint. Clean it up. I used the stuff that comes with it. I forgot to film that. But when you go to put in these connectors, you just take the tip of your tool and just poke them through. Now here, I kind of did that prematurely. I wanted to take the clip off the old Emblem and put it on the new one, because there's one side that can have the clip. Gives a little extra support. It holds it in place a little better. And then you start with the clip side and then flatten it out. And just make sure you get a nice even adhesion. Then make sure you pull the cords through, connectors. Now, with this Y, there's your left, your right, your passenger side lamp. You just disconnect it, connect the ends. If I can. And then do what you can to kind of stuff it back up in there. And just kind of speed this along. I you don't have to, but I like to, secure the wire, put it back as far as possible. I just kind of jump from hole to hole. I go in through one hole, pull all the excess out, and then go right back through that same hole into the next hole. And that's how I moved the connector back to where the rear pony is. Then just kind of line up the wires, make sure that they're proper from factory, and then kind of stuff it back up in there. And then with the gray wire, again, check, make sure the pins line up on the connector. But you can send that along. There's a harness that's going along the top part of there. I put a red line to follow it. You just kind of follow that with the wire. But then, so you kind of like stuff it along the edge, as you can see there, and bring it along with that whole harness the way it goes. And now with the, I broke it. Yeah, you gotta be careful with these things. Kind of gotta pull them straight out, but even then, there's a possibility of breaking them because they're not designed to be taken back out once they're put in. And then you just make this the weathering piece. It's like the part that's open to the elements. It's got seals on the edges and keeps most of the moisture and nonsense out. And then you just kind of feed the wire back behind everything. Give it a little tuck. Wrap it around stuff if you gotta. Make sure it doesn't get pinched by the clips where the clip holes are. And then you're going to want to get like a wire and feed that up through from the bottom side. And then kind of loop that onto the cable and pull it back through. It takes me a second there to get it, feed it in. Not really much room to work with, but it's workable, it's doable. And I have to get some pliers to pull that through because it's such a weird angle in there. What I found is that you can kind of like push against the rubber from one side to kind of poke it up through the hole without causing any damage or needing extra tools like I did here. I kind of fed a decent amount of wire through a loop that I made on the wire. I used like galvanized mechanics wire that you can get at like Harbor Freight or whatever, really cheap. And then you just pull it back through. And make sure you don't get any kinks, feed it through. And then we go on to putting it through the panel behind where the hinges are connected to. The bottom hole. I take off you kind of peel it back. You got to be careful. There's glue. The weather strip has a whole bunch of nasty stuff on it. One of the best things to do is pull straight away and kind of like lift. Make sure you don't get any of that on the headliner, because that stuff is nasty. It's very sticky. I'm doing my best not to touch it here. Now I recommend kind of getting a long tool to grab this. I ended up almost putting a crease in my headliner. Thankfully it didn't, but you got to be careful. No kinks. And then I pull that off the rest of the way, the weather strip, and you kind of feed the wire through that space, the gap that the weathering strip left behind. And then when you get to the bottom, you have to lift up the edge of the panel to get the wire underneath it. But first you got to take off the bottom piece. You pop up the covers and then you get a star bit and just unscrew those two pieces. Set those aside. Now honestly, at this point you should not have the trunk door thing, the little floor piece in there. You should just take it out of there and the other pieces that are in there. I eventually did, but these are where the bolts are on the backside, just underneath the part where the floor lays on top of. That is a 8mm socket, and you just unscrew those bad boys. And that panel comes straight up, that clips. Now I ended up, I can't remember what I did. I ended up mucking something up, but I edited it out. Oh no, I remember. the video, the camera died. So I had to kind of set the panel back there. But I removed more of the weather seal to get a better... I realized there's a weird gap there. But anyways, so this is the panel that I was talking about earlier. We gotta get that underneath there. I ended up doing it prior because the camera died. So I lift this up. This is the second time that the clip stayed in there. And I just pry that out. Not with that tool, but with that tool. And it pops right out. Now, the problem with this one, as sometimes that happens, is the little teeth that hold onto the plastic got bent outward, or up, or at least perpendicular. They are supposed to be down towards like where the loop is. So you just kind of pinch them with something and then put it back on. And then I'm redoing this for no reason, but you get it under there and it's nice and secure. And I took out the floor. Now the carpeting, it's kind of like stiff, rigid. You just pick it up. It comes out from underneath the wall panel, so you kind of gotta get that out of there. But there's a like a rubber stopper to seal the hole in the bottom, and you pull that out, and you take your wire that you pulled the cable through with, and you just poke a little hole in the very center. And then you take the wire. Now, one of the best ways to do this is to fold the rubber back so it kind of reveals that hole that you made, because you want the hole to be nice and tight, so you know, onto the wires, so that no water or anything travels back up through. So, and then you just kind of place the wire in the kind of crater that you made, and then you let it go, and then push it through, and it comes through pretty decently. Pop that back in. Make sure the wire is not too tight. Give it a little, pull it back a little bit. And then put the floor back in, or the carpeting. I like that it's not stick-on deadener now. They actually just put like flooring down instead of deadener. Wow. Because then you can put your own on. This kind of goes, like I said, underneath the panel. Instead of taking off the panel, you can just feed it back in. Then we put the back panel back on, kind of doing things in reverse order. Now, the reason that I filmed putting this back on was there are kind of there are clips that are they're like clip nuts essentially, and they're kind of sloppy. They move around a bit. So when you go to do like right here, I had a problem. I couldn't figure it out at first, but then I was like, oh, the clip slid around. And so that's it right there. You gotta make sure it's back seated where it was, and then your bolts will fit right back in the hole. little extra just in case. And then underneath on the back, you got this little panel on the passenger side. Well, you got them on both sides, but you want to use the passenger side. And then you just undo the 3 screws. These are 10s. And then when you get this one out, it kind of just slides back. You just got to make sure when you put it back on, you kind of go right back the way you came out, because there's a chance that like it overlaps somewhere it shouldn't. Now this is a pain in the butt. The easy part is pulling out the wire. You just kind of reach up in there, pull it out. It's right there. But getting to where the reverse light is on the bottom back of the bumper is a pain in the butt. Now, this is what it looks like in there. The yellow ones are kind of like holders. They hold it in place, their pins. They just pull right out if you need to pull them out to get a little extra. The pink one is the sensor, and the red one is the light. The way the clip works is that white part, you kind of like have to use your nail or something to pull it out towards the wiring, and then pinch it and pull it out. Now I removed most of those other things so that I could pull this out far enough so you guys could see it. And then I pulled back some of that that wrap that's around the cable so that I could fit this splitter in there. It's a cheap splitter. It came with the electronics kit that I have. I didn't have anything else on me. I kind of felt like I could have used something a little bit better, but this thing works just fine. Pulling the gray wire so that it's coming out where I have the cable coming out, so it's not leading around for no reason. But I also pulled up that panel so that I could get even farther back with my arm. But you want to make sure that that's in there if you use one of these. And then when you put the wires in, you just pinch this metal piece. And then now it cuts through the rubber and connects the metal. It just jumps it, and then you just cover it and put it back in, and you're done. Enjoy.